Welcome to the DeFi Standard. This is Patty XRP.
And Mickey B. Fresh. And today we got with us Jungle Inc. and Minus. So welcome, guys, to the show.
Well, thank you for having us on. Really appreciate it.
Awesome. So today we're going to be getting into a lot of talk about the Polkadot ecosystem as well as the parachain auctions that are starting right now. Before we start that, I just want to make sure anybody that's not familiar with Jungle or Minus at this point, Jungle, if you could just start off with kind of what you do in the space and your interests.
Yeah, my channel mainly focuses on just XRP and kind of related topics, just under Jungle Inc.
Awesome.
Yeah, Minus. I focus mainly on passive income, which starting to apply to more and more cryptos, and that's how I found Polkadot. Pretty much, Polkadot staking and there's other functions that obviously we're going to talk about that involve passive income. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I know I saw your US Terra video on the 20% APY, so that was pretty cool and possibly something I may be using in the future for sure.
I think BitTrue just started using that because they're offering up like 17 APY on UST.
Yeah, no, you're definitely right. I did see that as well. So it's cool to see that this is happening throughout the space for sure.
Yeah.
Awesome. So with that, I'm going to give everybody kind of a brief primer on Polkadot and its ecosystem, what it's all about. And then, we're going to get into a lot of talk about the different components of it and some of the parachains coming up between all of us. So with that, Polkadot basically is a nominated proof of stake network that's designed for interoperability between a bunch of different layer 1 blockchains with the Polkadot relay chain, which is basically its mainnet, as like the central hub of the whole ecosystem that provides the staking components, the governance, the crowd loans for these parachains we're going to talk about, and also allows all these different parachains to tap into the security of Polkadot. So basically their whole thing is it's a bet against maximalism. They think we're moving to a multi-chain world, and that's what Polkadot has been designed to do. ETH 2.0 is doing something fairly similar to what Polkadot is doing as well. And in fact, the founder of Polkadot is Dr. Gavin Wood, who is the designer of the Ethereum virtual machine and was a very large component of the Ethereum project in its early days before he ended up leaving. So with that, I kind of want to get into our first topic. So I'll shoot this over to Mickey to start, and then we'll get Jungle and Minus in on it as well. So why do you think the advent of Polkadot and its interoperable ecosystem of parachains is important to crypto and also, to our community like the Flare and XRP community?
Yeah, so one thing that drew me to Polkadot was this concept of shared security. So they had the main relay chain, which was DOT, and it had this nominated proof of stake, which allowed you to earn, 15 to 20% yield. So that was what really drew me in. Was that idea of passive income. And then seeing how all these parachains were able to spin up fairly quickly. So instead of having to launch, a whole new blockchain with a whole validator set, they were able to bootstrap off of the main relay chain. And Kusama, which is a canary network, similar to how Songbird is the canary network to Flare, they were able to test everything with real world value. So seeing that all in action throughout the whole summer, and now we get into the stage where the parachain auctions go live. So I think this whole concept of these parachains being like layer 1 blockchain and spinning up very quickly and having interoperability between them. So something like Akala could connect to Moonbeam and then could connect to Compound. And the Bitcoin blockchain, it really is a bet against maximalism. And it is, I think, Ethereum 2.0 before Ethereum 2.0. So that's what really drew me there. And I think it's just a good ecosystem for all of the crypto industry because it kind of is that interoperability, which we really need in crypto.
Awesome. Well, I got to tell you guys, what kind of draws me to this project is just the quality of what's being built here. I really think that usable apps is the future. And when you look across the board, it's not just Polkadot that I'm excited about. It's all of these other things that are being built, within this ecosystem. And I think interoperability, of course, is just sensible. Different systems are going to excel at certain things. It's like we wouldn't just use Google for everything we do on our computer or our smartphones or whatever. These things are going to leverage each other, so you're going to need that. And so I think it's just a sensible path forward. But really, again, it's just the quality of those apps as we are just kind of starting this journey. It's amazing to me just looking at what's being built. That's really what attracts me to this space.
Yeah, I guess to go off of that, the interoperability, I look into the future and I think about what's going to be, a hit, what's going to be popular. And we want to put our money in that area because we're going to see growth, and we don't want to chase green candles. We want to get in before everything starts popping off. And Polkadot, their whole coin is designed around interoperability, not just with, paired chains, but like Akala, for example, is, going to be connecting a lot of different coins together, and interoperability is it's going to happen. There's a lot of different projects out there, a lot of different networks, and they're all going to need to communicate. And if they can't communicate, there's going to be a lot of value that's left out. So, it's kind of like why I got into Flux a little bit, because of the interoperability, because that is where the future is going. It's everyone working together and building each other up and making each other more valuable. And Polkadot, that's kind of where they started. That was the idea behind a lot of the way the blockchain was designed. So I think that's outstanding.
Yeah, absolutely. I kind of echo a lot of what you guys are all saying, and especially Jungle, you brought up, like, we don't use Google for everything, even though they are involved in a lot of stuff out there. These parachains are going to allow these layer 1 blockchains to really specialize on certain niches. And so, with that, that's going to give people a lot of opportunity to kind of pick and choose what they want to use for very specific use cases. It's like, maybe in the future I'm doing something with DeFi, and part of that equation is doing something on Flare, but also having some position. Maybe there's a great like derivatives platform on Polkadot, and there's a bridge between Flare, and I want to hedge my position within a liquidity pool where I could suffer impermanent loss. Now, I may want to tap into another network to do that if that's the only place it's available, or maybe I just prefer the terms of me using that platform. So, I mean, one thing that I really like is having options and competition. So, I think with this whole parachain model that they have coming up, and you kind of have to, you lease for a certain amount of time, generally 2 years. And at the end of that, you're going to have to have done enough in those 2 years to warrant you getting that spot again. Now, certainly, a lot of these parachains are building treasuries that are going to try and, earn DOT throughout those 2 years so they can front it all themselves. But if you don't get to that point because not enough people are using your project, I mean, that's really going to kind of force you to kick it in gear and fix what is wrong and fix it, in a timely manner. So I think all that stuff is really cool. And, one of the other things is in the Flare white paper, Hugo and his team specifically pointed out Polkadot and Cosmos as potential ecosystems to create bridges between and allow assets from both of those to come on to Flare and vice versa. So, I think we see at this point, like, even the XRP ledger the other day came to, a little bit of a slowdown because of all the stuff popping up right now with all the trust lines and airdrops and all that. So to me, it's pretty clear that not a single blockchain can do everything. So multi-chain seems like the answer for now until, maybe we get to that point in the future where it is possible. So with that, basically, let's kind of get into some parachain talk. These parachains are basically going to be layer 1s, and they're going to use the consensus of the Polkadot relay chain, and they will all be interoperable through something called XCMP. It's going to allow all their tokens to flow between the different blockchains that allow them within the ecosystem. They'll be building bridges out to other blockchains. So it's really a massive ecosystem getting bootstrapped from the ground up that's about to take place here. And it's going to be really interesting to see. So, Jungle, let's see. You want to maybe talk about a little Moonbeam or some of the parachains that you're personally excited about?
Well, I think there's a lot of attractive opportunities out there. And the kind of way I've approached this is I probably feel that holding half of my DOT long term is what I want to do. And then the other I may sell during this bull run cycle if it gets up to a price level that I deem would be a good exit point, again, for about 50% of my DOT holdings. So to me, it's like, this asset I want to hold long term, I don't really care if you lock it up for 2 years. Let's see if I can get some value out of it. And I think at this point, really, the smart thing to do is to sit back and really analyze what are these projects offering? Where is the money flowing in? Because you get a certain amount of the rewards that are allocated to Moonbeam or Akala or whatever they are. And so if you have more money flowing into the, very top projects, you might get more rewards from something just a step down. But I didn't do that. I'm very attracted to this Moonbeam project. Part of that is its success on Kusama. It's what Moon River did, and part of it is just a long-term success here. And so I just loaded all my DOT that I am putting up here for the crowd loan on Moonbeam, and I don't even know at this point what my rewards are going to be. Probably not the most strategic way to do it, but it's the way that I played it. But I'm excited about a lot of stuff. If I don't put more out there, I will be investing in these projects for sure.
Yeah, I hear you. On Moonbeam especially, I mean, it just seems like projects are dying to get somewhere that is more scalable with cheaper fees at this point. I mean, we've seen Solana and Avalanche in particular blow up over, all of 2021, just crazy price rise between those. And they've had, tons of, total value locked within their DeFi platforms. They're having NFTs pop up and all that stuff. And Moonbeam has kind of all those things that you want to easily port a project over to Moonbeam from Ethereum. They got all the developer tools and stuff, which is really cool. Plus, they already have, it's probably like 30 projects at this point, Jungle, I think, lined up to launch on top of Moonbeam once they get their parachain as well.
That's right. And, this is the thing, though. I think if you're a little strategic here, you may look at that and say it might be better to invest in Moonbeam once, the token starts trading, and maybe one of these other ones you'll get, better rewards. And there's some other, components there with some of these other parachains. There's just a lot out there, I think, to be attracted to. And, I think you can get a lot of value. I don't think you can go wrong with these top projects, to be honest with you.
No, yeah, I definitely feel like Moonbeam, it's like, I don't think you're going to like lose out on it. It kind of seems like one of the surer bets, right?
Yeah, that's it. And I wanted to get my money in on something that I'm fairly sure is going to get one of these first 5 slots. And, there's stuff that I may jump in here as these rounds continue if I think I can, get on some of these other projects.
Awesome. Well, Minus, you want to touch on some of the stuff you're kind of looking at and into with the parachains?
Oh yeah, I kind of did the same thing Jungle did. I put all my DOT on Moonbeam, and you see like Akala, right? It seems like it's a more tangible project to a lot of people to understand what the use case is. It's reminds me of Flare Finance, and it's all sorts of DeFi things, which are really cool, and I'm sure we're going to talk about those. But I think Moonbeam is equally as important, and in getting in on that, if there's less people that invest into that parachain for the auction, then maybe we get more rewards. And I think the other day it was about there's twice as many DOT on Akala than there was on Moonbeam. So I think they're both going to have probably about the same value, but I know that Moonbeam's got a lot that goes on in the background that's going to drive value, and maybe people don't see that right off the bat, and maybe that affects our rewards or how much we get. I don't know exactly how it works. Maybe you guys know, but besides that, down the road, I'm really interested and I'm hyped about PDEX. And if you want to talk about Polkadex, that's great.
Yes, please. Yeah, you wanna give the viewers some info on that one?
Oh yeah. It's a decentralized exchange. It's the first of its kind, really. It's built on the substrate, which is pretty sweet. It's got the highest level of security. You hold your own coins. You hold the custody is kind of in your wallet, kind of like how MetaMask works and Uniswap. You hold your coins, but it's not an automatic market maker. It's a manual market maker. So it functions like a classic exchange. Which is pretty cool. 500,000 transactions per second. So, this thing can scale horizontally. It's pretty crazy. 0 gas fees. It's doing swaps too. And there's a lot of value in swaps, and they're feeless. There's no fee when you swap. So you can trade any Ethereum coin and Polkadot coin on this exchange. There's high frequency trading bots, which are pretty sweet. Fiat on ramps. I mean, they're going to have this for any device, your phone, your computer. You can jump on it and use it. A lot of times, it's what exchange gives you the least hassle, the least friction in trade. And sometimes you get FOMO and you want to jump on something, and it really saves you, makes you a lot of money because you're the first to react. So it's really cool. And there's all sorts of other things. What I'm most excited about on Polkadot is that there is the decentralized coin offering, the idea. IDO
for launching these IDOs or whatever they call them.
Yeah.
Oh, they have a launch pad. Yeah.
So that's, we can get in and find some gems and invest in them real early before, any other exchange has them for offer. So I see a lot of value in that. And I think a lot of people are going to use this just because of how easy it's going to be. It's going to be fast trading. It's safe trading. And it's got everyone on the Ethereum network that can utilize it along with Polkadot. So I expect big things out of that. And passive income, when it launched on mainnet, it was like 180% for staking. So you're looking at DOT, you're like, okay, I could stake some DOT for 16 or 18% right now, or I could jump on this PDEX train and ride this 180 APY down to, I think it's 80 or so it's dropping. But, if it's above, if you're getting an APY too of staking through the bear market at above 50%, you have to question if it's even worth selling and trying to, sell at the high and buy at the low. You just ride it through and you accumulate a lot of coins, and, you can't go wrong. So PDEX, I'm really excited about.
Yeah, I'll tell you, Minus, on Pokedex, because I was looking into it since I know you've talked about it quite a bit on your channel before. And they're also, looking at doing some, classical derivatives like options and stuff like that. I think that's on, the roadmap for next year. Yeah. And if coupled with what they're like, they are very ambitious in my eyes. And if they pull off what they're trying to do, I mean, I could see that being a pretty awesome project, whether the price goes up or anything, just to use in general. Derivatives are a real pain point for the industry right now. Also, the fact that they're doing an order book style DEX, and they do have some like AMMs that underpin it, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Just being able to set limit orders and stuff like that. I think a lot of people will be interested in doing that in a decentralized way for sure. And now they have their token out now, right?
Yeah, they do. I think the market cap, actually, I can look it up right now.
I think it's under like 50 million at this point. I think it's pretty low.
It's right around that neighborhood. That's right.
It's 58 million right now.
Yeah. Okay. So I mean,
it's like a small cap gem right there.
Yeah, because I saw they're going for the parachain, I think, end of December. So, that's one, like Jungle, you said you're kind of holding off on maybe, bonding all your DOT right now just to see if any of these other projects later on are looking, particularly juicy. That's kind of one that I think later on in the game, I'll definitely be keeping an eye on for that as well.
I don't think there's a doubt in my mind they're not going to get a parachain slot. So I think it's a safe bet to get into now. That's what I'm doing personally. So.
Cool. Mickey, you want to hop in with some, I assume, some Akala talk here?
Sure, but I just wanted to touch on what Minus and Jungle said. I think they make great points about how there's just more opportunities out there. So the crypto industry in general, like with the whole Polkadot launching, you think you have up to 100 parachain slots, and then on top of those parachains, you're going to have launch pads and other tokens launching. So it's a way for us to get into these projects really early, just how we're able to get into, Flare from the airdrop really early. You're able to get in kind of at the ground floor, and the parachain distribution mechanism, I think, is great because you put up your DOT and you're actually able to get it back after 2 years, but the project and the blockchain could distribute the token out to a lot of users. And that's one of the hardest problems that these blockchains have, is to get the tokens out there. So going into Akala, I took, I think it was like 20% of my DOT, and I went into Akala with the LC DOT option, which allows you to get a derivative of that bonded DOT for 2 years and then use that. Now, what I would like to do in the future is hold some back for like what Jungle said, because I think there's going to be options there, opportunities in the future for some of these hidden gems like PDEX and some other ones. So Akala's token's not on the market yet, and neither is Moonbeam. So those will be distributed out during when the parachain launches. So Akala was the first one. One thing I liked about them was that they built in the DeFi into the layer one. So the DEX was kind of built in to the blockchain. The decentralized stablecoin was built into the actual blockchain itself. And they were backed by like Coinbase and Arrington Capital and Pantera. So they had some good backing. But I do intend to go with some of the ones further back and look for opportunities there. But at the same time, I see DOT as the reserve currency of this large ecosystem of many parachains. So each parachain is going to have like a treasury of DOT. So over time, you're going to keep the parachains themselves are going to keep accumulating DOT, and then a bunch of DOT staked, and then a bunch is in the crowd loans. So tokenomic wise, it puts a high value on DOT, I think, in the long term. So there's only so much DOT that I think I would want to use towards the parachains, but I think there's going to be plenty of opportunities because every week or 2 weeks, there's going to be another parachain auction. So you're always going to have opportunities moving forward. And I think there's a lot of hidden gems going forward in the future. I just went with Akala to start. That was the biggest one. And I like the LC DOT option, which allows you to get that derivative. So that's something you could use in DeFi moving forward. And then they also have something called LDOT, which means when your DOT is staked and it's earning yield, you're able to get a derivative of then that stake DOT and use its value in DeFi. And this is kind of like moving into the future of DeFi 2.0, where we're able to utilize staked assets and a derivatives market. So this is the derivatives market starting in crypto, moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll add on, Akala, I've done some playing around on their testnet, and it's got one of the friendliest UI and UX, user experience thing going on for any DeFi platform that I use. So I was really impressed with that. They also have a partnership with Current, which is a fintech bank in the US, kind of targeting younger people. I believe they have 3 million users. They're basically tapping into the the underlying DeFi network of Akala in order to give higher yields to their clients. So I feel like the future is definitely going that way where we have this merger between DeFi and centralized finance, and I just think them tapping into it is one step in the future that way. Oh, so Nikki, could you also touch on what Akala is doing with compound finance there?
Oh, yeah. So that was one other thing that was really impressive. So they're building this. They got a grant actually from Compound's governance to be able to build basically a bridge to Compound's Starport gateway. So that's going to allow DOT, LDOT, LC DOT, and Akala tokens to be able to be used in Compound's money market accounts. So it opens up that pathway there for assets to move from the parachains, Akala or any other one, to Compound. And then it also allows Compound's going to create this thing called Cash. It's going to be kind of like a stable coin, and that will allow that to come into the parachain ecosystem. So into Akala, and then it could bridge to Moonbeam. Since all the parachains could connect to each other, once you have a bridge into one parachain, you're able to connect to all the parachains. So that's where that interoperability comes in. And you see something like Compound, which you think, oh, that's like a big Ethereum dApp, right? But they're actually going to move, off of Ethereum as well and make this Starport like gateway, and that will connect to Akala and other networks too. So, as much as we thought like Ethereum, everything is built on Ethereum, slowly you're starting to see these dApps and other big projects like Aave's on Avalanche, and they're starting to move off of just Ethereum. So the longer that Ethereum 2.0 takes to come out, the more these projects I think are going to move outward. And Polkadot just seems like a great option for many of them to connect the parachains to. And I know Bitcoin's also another one there's going to be a bridge to. So you'll be able to use Bitcoin on Akala as collateral. And that's one thing that's nice, having all this interoperability capabilities. And Akala also, I think, has the has the Ethereum virtual machine capabilities as well. So that means it will be interoperable with ERC20 tokens as well.
Yeah, Mickey, the hardest part for getting coins like on the dot network is trying to convert it to the right network. And I think, bridges, people underestimate the power of bridges, but it is going to onboard tons of adoption to a lot of projects, making these bridges set up conveniently instead of trying to, send your coins to Gate and then you trade them and then you have to send it on the right network to like the Polkadot JS or whatever to get your coins over there. And a lot of times I look at that and I'm like, I don't really feel like going through the hassle right now. And it kind of deters me a little bit. But when they make things really easy without friction, it is going to bring a lot of that money. You're exactly right. And, Ethereum, yeah, it's got some gas problems. And
yeah,
the longer it doesn't get to 2.0, which it might be 2022 is when it goes to 2.0, but projects have already started to migrate, so they're probably not going to stop. They're going to keep going and build these bridges regardless. So I guess it's, the gas is a blessing in disguise to all these other projects, right? So.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think like even when we let's say ETH 2.0 is out, let's say next summer, and it works pretty well. The gas fees are down, the transactions are faster. I don't think that's stopping, these projects from going multi-chain. We see something like Songbird just come out, and it's got over like 3 billion in market cap right out the gate. Just because there's a huge community interested in it. So there's a ton of legacy blockchains with a lot of value in them that may not be a part of Ethereum. So I think we're just going to continue to see, like, if you got a brand name like Compound or Aave, Sushi Swap now, they have the second highest TVL out of any DEXs out there behind Curve. They're going to be on Moonbeam. They're on like almost every chain at this point. So to me, it's like, all right, I have this name. People recognize it. It's like a business, maybe you got a nice pizza shop. People really like it. You move over to the next town and you expand. So I think we're going to keep seeing that happening, regardless of ETH 2.0 being good or bad. And personally, I hope it's good because there's some stuff on Ethereum that's really cool. And maybe I want to use my XRP there one day, or maybe I want to use my Spark token. So, it's going to be really interesting to see how that happens. I do want to add in here just a couple other, things on parachains, since I've looked at quite a few. Down the line, one of the things that Polkadot really emphasizes, at least when I looked into it, is Internet of Things. So IoT, robotics, smart cities, different things like that. There's this project I was looking at called Robonomics, and they haven't gotten a parachain slot on Kusama yet, but basically they're trying to make some kind of ecosystem that allows people to figure out if autonomous workers or bots can trust one another, build trust between them, and have ways of communication. And I just think IoT and all that stuff is going to be huge in the future, especially you couple in metaverses and NFTs together. We see Engine, which is a huge, huge gaming project that's kind of come along in the past year. They're basically, helping get behind this new parachain that's going to come out called Affinity. They're going to try and build a metaverse on there. They're going to have, a lot of NFTs and stuff like that. So I think a lot of these things that are newer or to come in the future also can kind of find a place on Polkadot as well. Especially, think about if you build something for IoT or robotics, it probably needs to be very specific to that use case. And, Polkadot's perfect for that, I feel like.
Yeah, and also having the Kusama as the canary network. So that's where Songbird got that model from. Everything could kind of start on Kusama and could test on that network. So all these parachains that are launching now, like Akala and Moonbeam, they've already tested and already launched on Kusama. So that they've already been proven and tested and they actually work. So ETH 2.0, has to do this without a canary network and just kind of wing it as they go. So I like the idea of having that canary network and testing projects out first with real world value. It makes it easier to be able to then launch them on the main chain, which will be Polkadot.
Yeah, I mean, Kusama, what does it take, about a week to pass a new rule? And Polkadot, it's 28 days. So yeah, you can accelerate, you can troubleshoot. It's great. And Polkadot, if it, like PDEX handling 500K transactions a second, can Ethereum 2.0 do that? The highest I've heard on Ethereum 2.0 is 150,000 transactions per second. So, all this stuff they're testing is going to accelerate the adoption of Polkadot. So, these canary networks are great and they're going to drive a lot of value. So, it's good to diversify, I think, into Polkadot a little bit, just to, so you don't miss out on some really good opportunities.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm pretty sure. So Cosmos just announced that they're gonna build a canary network out as well. And one of the things David Schwartz said with the XRPL side chains is, hey, you can build a side chain that's for like real life testing, which is much less value on it. So there's 2 other projects, and I've already heard some murmurs about maybe ETH 2.0 wanting to do a canary network before fully, changing over to proof of stake from proof of work. So I think that's, I think it's a model that Polkadot kind of set out with Kusama. Kusama has been performing pretty well. It's been on a real price ripper the past couple of weeks. So, and certainly I love it for Flare with Songbird. And I think a lot of these projects are going to utilize that stuff. And if you're a new project looking to build somewhere, I mean, just think about having the ability to test stuff out in real life, get like, when people are just pulling stuff from a faucet, they're going to do all kinds of ridiculous stuff that they would never do in real life. Once money's on the line, people's behavior changes a lot. So, having that ability to test that out, I think is just a big thing for all projects, whether it's layer 2s in the future or dApps and all those kind of things. Well,
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead, Mickey.
One other thing that I think is fascinating about this whole industry, how it developed, like the 3 kind of founders of Ethereum, or the engineers, was like Hotchkins, who's like with Cardano now, Gavin Wood, who's like with Polkadot, and Vitalik, who's with Ethereum. They kind of all branched out and built, top 10 blockchains when you think about it. So it's just like an interesting story of how the 3 of them, kind of went separate ways. And Polkadot seems to be building ETH 2.0 before 2.0 is actually out. And there are some key differences there. They're very technical. We don't have to go into them. But I think it's important to note, for people that see and hear Ethereum 2.0 coming out, that Polkadot kind of is the model for ETH 2.0 already out there. The crowd loans obviously are going to be a little different, and how they work, the governance is unsure on ETH 2.0, and they have to actually transition from proof of work with the miners to proof of stake. I mean, Polkadot had 2 years to get their network really secure, get the dots spread out to enough different validators. And they have the highest APY, which is, I think, interesting with Polkadot, that the staking has 15 to 20% APY, which is the highest that I've seen.
You can't find that anywhere else, really.
No, you can't. And the thing is that Dot's really not, they're not trying to use Dot the way that XRP Ledger uses XRP. It's a totally different use case for Dot. So those coming from like the XRP ecosystem, you think of Dot as more of an asset that's used to secure the network as a reserve currency for the crowd loans. It's not for payments. It's not really for liquidity and those type of things. So it's a different use case, but it comes with that high APY, which compounds every day, which is nice.
Yeah, absolutely. So I wanted to add in, Mickey, to kind of illustrate, some of the stuff you could do and kind of tie in Moonbeam and Akala here. So, for me, I'm not going into any crowd loans at this point. I'm not going to bond my Dot. One of the reasons is, I got into Dot this summer when the price was down like 75% from the highs. And I was like, I don't know what's going to happen with this XRP case. This looks like a pretty good project to get into. It looks like it's got room to grow. And, I don't want to be locking up my Dot just in case XRP doesn't run, even though, I think it's going to regardless of the case or not. But, just in case that doesn't happen, I'd like to have something that will do well and perform and be able to sell and actually cash, have some, whether it be stable coins or get it to fiat, I'll have to decide on that. So, that's one of the reasons I didn't go into any. It doesn't mean I won't in the future if I see a good enough deal. But kind of what I'm looking at doing here is, since Akala is going to have this liquid Dot protocol, I can stake my Dot through it, get around 15 to 20% APY. It's compounding daily. I can use that L Dot which basically is going to be equal value to the DOT token. There'll be some basis risk. The price will fluctuate against one another a little bit. Nothing that's going to be too bad from what I can tell. And I can put that in basically their stablecoin protocol, where I can set up a collateralized debt position. I take out this stablecoin they have called AUSD, which personally I think is going to be the biggest stablecoin within the Polkadot ecosystem, because everything Akala is doing is built around this. And, I take out a loan, I get AUSD. So I have this LDOT that's being used as collateral. It's also earning 20%, APY potentially. Now I have this AUSD. I could potentially sell this AUSD, half of it into the Glimmer token if it's trading on Akala at that point. Now I have some, exposure to the Glimmer token. I also have some stable coins, and I can provide liquidity or something like that to earn the ACA tokens. So, I went from a place where, maybe, obviously it's going to be a little more risky to do that. You got to manage your position and all that, but it really does give you options and to earn multiple different assets. Like in that one situation, I'd be earning an asset from Moonbeam. I'd be getting one from Akala, and then I'm also earning one from the Polkadot relay chain. So I think as we see this grow, like you're going to see all this interoperability. These tokens are going to be on each other's blockchains and used for a lot of different stuff, which I think is really cool. And also, everything that's about to happen on Polkadot, some of this stuff's been happening with Solana and Avalanche. And what I'll say with that is, there's new projects coming out. And as these layer one blockchains do well, generally, just like Bitcoin pours into the alts, these layer one native assets pour into basically, the dApp tokens, the layer 2 tokens, and things like that. So even if you're not in the Polkadot ecosystem, I think it's worth watching and seeing how the market moves with these parachain tokens, with the new projects that launch on them. And if you're somebody that has maybe XRP or Spark, like our channel is, more centric around, you can think about, how could this possibly apply to my situation that's about to be here in a couple months with Flare, or, by next summer, potentially with XRP. So it can also be like a learning opportunity rather than, maybe you don't have enough money to invest, or, you feel like DOT's price has already run up too much. Totally get all that. But, all these things, you got to learn from things that come in front of, from the past, and then kind of you can use that stuff to project out on other things that you're into.
Yeah, that's a good point. And one of the reasons I got into PDEX is because it is low cap, and you can really get a feel for the JS operating system, or the interface, I should say. And going that way, because DOT does seem like it's a little pricey, and it's gone up quite a bit since like you bought. And PDEX was a great learning experience for me personally, and the passive income's insane. So
you're able to use Polkadot.js with the PDEX interface?
Yeah, that's right. You
That's
just
great.
go on the top left, and you can switch between different networks. And Polkadex is one of the networks you can switch to, and you use it the same way as you would Polkadot staking, and you just collect. I'm just sitting around getting that compounding interest daily.
Nice. Yeah.
It's a high AP. I think it's APR. So APY is even higher. It's what was last week? It was 80% APR. So that's more than 100% APY.
Yeah,
So
Mickey, I want to add to that, though. The reason that is because of that substrate framework that Gavin Wood and his team built out, Parity Technologies, where, all these blockchains that are trying to, or parachains coming to Polkadot, they're using the substrate framework. So, you don't actually have to be a parachain on Polkadot to utilize that. So I imagine that's why it's already working with it already, minus.
Well, yeah, because they have validators, and it kind of validates the project, and then you invest, and the validators get a portion of the the staking rewards for running the validator. And it's I'm not sure, are all projects on the Polkadot, all the parachain projects, are going to be set up the same way with validators just like that?
Yeah, they're going to have, so I think like since right now Pokedex is like, validating their own blockchain, what they'll become is collators. So basically they're going to have, all the parachains will have these collators that just aggregate all the transactions and order them. Then they send them over to the relay chain validators to basically verify it and, memorialize it in the blockchain.
Yeah, that's sweet. Exciting.
Yeah, so like Moonbeam, they're going to have staking opportunities with the Glimmer token. I don't remember what their inflation is, but, you can stake with the collators on the Moonbeam ecosystem and earn more Moonbeam, basically. And a lot of them are doing the same thing. I know Akala is deflationary, but they kind of have an amount set aside that they're going to use. And I think the treasury will fund it in the future. But a lot of parachains are using a little inflation to kind of incentivize that. And it gives you something to do with the token immediately so you can start earning more. Cool. Nikki,
go
ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to say Polkadot.js, takes a little, it could be, intimidating at first when you go on it. It looks a little, difficult to use. But like Minus was saying, on the left-hand side, you see all those networks that you could connect to. So it is kind of one of Gavin Wood's, inventions there to connect to all the substrates and have it used from one actual interface. So there's the browser extension, which kind of is like a MetaMask. I think it's much smoother than MetaMask. But as I used it more, I got more familiar with it and I felt more comfortable. But at first, I will say it was a little intimidating to use at first.
Yeah, it was. I sent my PDEX there and I couldn't find it because I didn't know you had to switch to the Pokedex network. So I was, freaking out for a minute.
We've all been there, right?
And then I know there's some. So with Moonbeam, you has the actual Ethereum addresses, right, Jungle? When you actually get it, it's a little different. I think with the Glimmer token.
That was Mike's off.
Yeah. Oh. I mean, since Moonbeam's using the EVM, I know like you can even use MetaMask on it. So
really,
yeah.
And one thing is good. They have a lot of these projects, and even Polkadot themselves, they have good tutorials on how to use them. So that YouTube is very good for videos for like Akala, Moonbeam, to show tutorials on how to set up your crowd loans and things like that. They have a lot of resources. Even Polkadot's wiki is very good to just understand the complex system moving forward. Also, I just want to bring a note here that some of these things launched on Kusama. Like, for example, Moonbeam's token exploded in price more so than Akala's Kusama chain, which was Korora. So those are things you want to look at too when you're deciding on some of these crowd loans. And that was one thing that made me think about Moonbeam too, since their token exploded so much in price on Kusama. It's something to keep in mind, moving forward, of why that was and Korora's didn't. So, there's a lot of resources out there to look at that. Yeah,
I don't know if Jungle or Minus, you guys know this. I was reading some stuff recently that it looks like there's a ton of gaming projects that are trying to get on top of Moonriver. Because I know it just kind of exploded up again in the past week, even though, it done that this summer. So I find that pretty interesting. And I'm curious, if in the future, gaming projects may be primarily on some of these canary networks, that are faster. It's more about a game. I don't know. We'll have to see. I just found that interesting.
Yeah, I think paying attention to games. I've done a few bits on like shows on games, and games, they have massive value. They're way more popular than you and I might expect, just because, we're maybe not into games, but so many people are. So when I see a game on blockchain, I look into it, and they usually have really good games. I don't know what the benefit would be too much to build on top of Moonbeam, but building on top of like Polkadot or whatever, it's probably just as good as any other network, and NFTs and all that stuff. So I think that's the biggest downfall with XRP Ledger games right now is the integration of NFTs.
Yeah, definitely. Good point. But see, that one thing, I do see some similarities between what they're doing with XRP Ledger and these side chains. So going into 2022, what David Schwartz said, them building these side chains, you could kind of compare them a little to parachains. Yes, they're going to be very different. They'll be customizable. They'll have their own consensus, but it allows the XRP Ledger to scale horizontally. And I guess the one difference is you'll be able to use XRP in all of those side chains in a way where you have native tokens with the parachains. So those side chains are really going to give XRP more utility. And then, like you were saying, Minus, having that NFT amendment go through, once that goes through, then I think we'll see a lot more gaming and NFT use cases on the XRP Ledger. Because right now, I mean, you really can't do much with the NFT space on the Ledger until that amendment actually goes through.
Yeah, not without a lot of friction, and it's just JPEGs right now. So We really want videos and more complex 3D, more NFTs that require more data, more information attached to them, opposed to just
they need more metadata.
JPEG. Yeah.
Absolutely. Cool. Well, I want to see. I have a couple other, just general questions for you guys, Jungle and Minus. I do want to see before I move into those if anybody has any last things they wanted to touch on with Polkadot or the parachains. Cool.
I don't have anything.
I guess
Awesome.
the only thing
go ahead.
Go ahead. The only thing we didn't talk about was that the tokens get distributed when you actually put the DOT in the crowd loan. You get the native token. So you'll get either 10 or 20% of that native token right away when Parachain launches. And then you'll get the rest of that native token, say a Kawas token or Glimmer with Moonbeam, over the period of 2 years. And it'll be distributed to you like every day. So that's what you get in return. And then after 2 years, you get your DOT back.
Guys, one thing I just wanted to add briefly, if you don't get to partake in a parachain auction right here, I think these are still valid projects to keep an eye on and invest in over time once these tokens start trading. I mean, these are huge in nature. And also looking at the parachain thing, when we look at Akala, I just pulled it up, the number one address that put their DOT in contributed 3.4 million DOT to the Akala project here. So it just shows you the scale of investor that is, partaking in these parachain auctions. It's just amazing when you think of 3.4 million DOT times what, 50 something bucks a pop. Some big business here.
I mean, I think their cap is like 50 million. So I mean, what is that? 2.5 billion if that got hit behind one parachain, which is, I think it trades at a 40 million market cap right now. That's a lot of the supply for just one. And, one day they're hoping there's going to be hundreds of these. So it's pretty crazy. And also, I mean, hey, maybe you don't get in now. Hey, maybe the market kind of, tops out, retraces for a little while, gives you opportunities to get in at that point too.
And millions of DOT staked on these auctions means millions of DOTs that are removed from circulation or circulating supply. So that's another, bonus to these things.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. It's so well thought out just from the DOT standpoint and just the whole ecosystem and the way the Canary network kind of fits into everything. I think you can approach this so many different ways. And I think that's great as an investor. And again, on a lot of these things, whether you're just going to hold on to your DOT and wait for it to appreciate or take part in these parachains with these really vibrant projects, I don't think you could really go wrong.
Absolutely.
No, that's a great point with the multiple strategies. Like just how we were all talking here, everyone has a different strategy and everyone's will probably work. And you could combine them in so many different ways, moving forward. With the staking there too as a component and the capital appreciation, there's definitely going to be a supply crunch. Also to throw in, I know all the big exchanges are offering portals for the parachain auction. So like Kraken, your Binance, your OKX, your KuCoin, they're going to all be allowing their users to participate in parachain. So think of how many users that is. At the same time, though, then you got to trust those exchanges. So
yeah, I don't like that idea at all.
Yeah, I don't like
that
at
all
either.
It's like
but
it's got to be on good behavior for 2 years, or you're screwed. It's like no way. Not
yeah, I don't know.
Not me.
Hey, at least they're going to be, they will be listing a lot of these tokens. I mean, there's one called Clover Finance. Mickey was just telling me earlier today. It looks like it's already going to be listed on Coinbase, or it might be out already. So, I mean, I think you're going to see a lot of that. Yeah. So, one of the things is getting the token out there for people to trade. That's one part of, a big pie there. So, there's definitely a lot of interest. I think what is it, Mickey? The Polkadot has the most VC investors out of any of the blockchains too.
Yeah. Masari did this report on them back in, it was Masari and Arrington Capital, I think, did it back in April or May. And they showed how the most VC and hedge funds invest in DOT more than any of the other assets. It was just a specific hedge funds and VCs put the most money in those in DOT compared to the other, layer ones. Also, PDEX is on KuCoin, I saw. So that's another avenue to be able to purchase that.
that's where I got mine. And, you have to go through the whole thing of you're buying an ERC20 there on KuCoin, and you got to, pay the gas fees to move it and then convert it and all of that. What kind of Minus was talking about with we need these bridges, even though I knew there was big staking rewards, I'm like, I really don't want to, do this, but Minus kept after me, and I finally went through the whole hoops you have to jump through and paid the fees, and glad I did now. But the future is going to be so much better when we don't have to deal with that kind of stuff.
Absolutely. Cool.
Where'd you convert it? You converted it when you went over to Polkadot.js, or where did you actually convert it, on PDEX?
Yeah, they have an actual website where you connect your MetaMask wallet and your
JS.
JS wallet, and it runs through the whole procedure. The first time I did it, I was like $3 short on gas fees, so the first part of it failed, and I had to transfer more Ethereum in, and then finish the transaction. That's the kind of things we have to put up with nowadays. But again, I don't think the future will look like that. But real easy process. Also taking part in these parachains, if people want to do them, at least, for the Moonbeam one, and I'm sure the other are going to be similar, very easy process. I was able to go ahead and contribute my DOT there, lock them up, and give the correspondent MetaMask address where I want my rewards to go to. It's going to be on the Moonbeam network, but not an ERC20, but you still use, that same address there. Just do those two. It does the whole process for you very easy.
Yep, and it's important to note that you don't have to trust the parachains too. So the actual DOT gets held on the actual relay chain. So that's good to know that it is trustless. I know with LC DOT, initially it's not trustless until they launch the parachain, but at least you know that your DOT is, secured on that actual main relay chain for those 2 years. So you're definitely going to be able to get it back, which is a good feeling. So there's a trustless nature there.
It also might be a good feeling knowing that you can't trade out of your DOT and you have to hold it for 2 years. A lot of times that might work in your favor.
Yeah, it might.
Awesome. Cool. Well, any last thoughts on Polkadot, guys? I think this has been a pretty good discussion, and certainly, pleasure to speak to y'all for the first time.
From my perspective, it's just this is going to be the future. There's going to be, all these systems are going to link together. I think Polkadot's going to be a conduit for that, and I just see a lot of quality being built around this. And I think that's the true test of, as we're looking at these various blockchains, what is happening? What real development is happening there? And I still feel apps are the future. Not just it's going to do this exciting stuff at some far distant way in the future. We're starting to see it happen now, where you have an application, whether it's Uniswap or, now we're seeing Flare Finance launch on Songbird. We're getting real things we can get in our hands and use. And I think that's exciting. And it's only going to get better from here.
Yeah. Follow-up question for you there, Jungle. Do you think we're at the point where, we're seeing enough development in true use cases on these blockchains that, crypto is just going to follow its, 3 or 4 year bear market cycle? Or do you think maybe there's a little more there, maybe some regulations coming in soon that, it kind of starts changing the game?
It's hard to say. It sure seems like it's following a similar path on the ascension. And I think sometimes, I felt like that in 2017 and into the beginning of 18, like we've come so far, and we had compared to where we were. But, when we look at, yes, major institutional money is going to be coming, but that doesn't mean Tesla and a few other, small ones. It's the start, but it's not where we're going to go. There's always a bear market on the horizon. Will it be as vicious and nasty as before? I have no idea. Will it kick off in January just like the past? I have no idea. I think you have to hold value, premium cryptocurrencies, at least some for the long term. If you see, those values swelling, I don't think it ever hurts to hit the sell button and hit that cash register and cultivate some of that value, if for nothing else, just to reinvest at a later point in time. There's always going to be a deal out there, whether it's real estate, stocks, crypto. It will not all go up forever. And just don't think you know exactly what's going to happen, because I guarantee you no one does for sure. But, it's seeming similar to what we've seen in the past. but you never know what's on the other side of that mountain until we get there. So I kind of hedge my bets there. I plan to, take some of that value off the board if it gets really crazy, as it already is starting to. And then, as you guys talk about on your channel, we're going to have a lot of opportunities now, not just to, sit on this capital appreciation, but leverage it. So that's exciting as well. And that's only going to expand as we go.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, I totally feel at this point, it's like one of those things that, even if, we have the same cycle, and certainly if the market goes up a ton, it's going to crash down hard. That's always going to happen. How long it takes, that's really the question for me. But to me, it's like, I got to have at least 1 foot in at all times. It just seems so risky that, if it's that one day where, maybe some law gets passed in the US or something like that, and it changes the game and people can get in quickly, it makes it hard to get back in once that market, and we know how quick it can really shoot up.
Yeah, I think it's fair to make a couple assumptions that the bear market's not going to be as drastic as it was last time, and it's not going to be as long as it was last time. I mean, 2017, everyone wasn't even sure if crypto was going to be legal in a year. So now institutions are buying into it. So, global adoption's happening. So 1 foot in or 1.5 feet in, if you're building APY on it, I don't see how it's a lose-lose. I mean, it's a win-win if you're APYing. So.
Yeah, Minus has a great point there, because that's one thing we didn't have during the last bear market, really. And now
passive income didn't really exist back then.
Exactly. So we didn't even really have the CFI. Now you have CFI, DeFi, being able to utilize all these products. Okay, if the market pullbacks and we go into that slump period, you have the ability to even use stable coins, like you say, to earn 20%. So you have so many more opportunities and options to be able to strategize around that. And the only real thing that makes me worried is with XRP, it could kind of go at any moment, which makes it uncertain. Because of this case, it makes it more difficult to kind of plan out, especially if you're heavy in XRP with the situation that we're in. I think it makes it more difficult, for us. And it is frustrating.
Finance to launch so we can get that APY and
exactly
walk away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, the APY, I think you got a great point there, Minus. And, we preach that on the channel is, during, if it's a bull market, bear market, you still could make continuous wealth if you just keep compounding. And as you build up wealth, just create those revenue streams. They're there for us to be able to utilize and take advantage of them. But you just have to understand how they work and, get used to it. Like, for example, Polkadot.js, it takes a little while to get used to, but once you do, it's a good tool to be able to utilize.
Yeah, it's like I sit here and think, even if, like, let's say XRP, it's right around $1.25 or something today. And let's say it shoots up to $10, it goes to where a lot of TA people think it's going to go. For me, what's the bottom of $10? Well, it's probably, at worst, maybe 90% down, and I'm back to $1. But, I feel pretty good about, if you've been in XRP or some of these coins for a long time, like, we've been around for a few years now, it's like the floor keeps raising, and there's some comfort in that for me. If I could sit here and use $1 XRP or, $50 DOT, maybe after getting a little cash out at the top and to earn for a year, to me, that's just gravy, honestly. It's like, to me, the only worry is like if it just crashes all the way back down to where we started, which just seems so unlikely at this point. That would just be a soul crusher. But, it seems like probably, $1 XRP, if DOT takes off from here to like, $100, $150 or more, it's probably only coming back down to like 30 or 40 at worst. It's like Bitcoin just went up to what, 60, 5K in the spring, and it fell back down to 28K. I mean, well, if it goes to 150K or something like that, I mean, how much lower is it going to go than where it is now? So that's always.
If you have enough coins to have extreme wealth in 10 years, you got to really, do you want to risk selling that and missing the boat? I sure don't.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, take profits while you can. Especially, we are on that brink right now. It feels like, just looking at, when you go to all the prices, you see these things up 20, 30% a day. It's starting to get to that feel of that. Alt season is starting to come rapidly. So this is the time when everyone makes all their money. So I would say I agree, Jungle. Take profits while you can, especially if we get into that euphoric stage that seems to be coming, but nobody really knows for sure.
Yep, absolutely. Cool. Well, I think we did lose Jungle, but it probably we're at an hour in, so I don't know if you guys have any last thoughts. Otherwise, we can go ahead and wrap up here.
I just appreciated you guys having me on. This was a lot of fun.
Absolutely. And yeah, make sure if anybody's interested, Minus does, he covers a lot of different stuff. He's not, he talks about some XRP, some Flare, some Songbird. He'll talk about projects on any network, wherever he thinks there's money to be made. So definitely suggest checking him out on Twitter and YouTube as well. It's Minus Wells Crypto on YouTube, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll link your
Yes.
YouTube and Jungle in the description below, so everyone can check you out. And thank you for coming on the show. This was a great discussion. And I just want to disclaimer here for everybody: nothing we said is financial advice. And also, I want to say, still hold XRP, still hold Songbird, still very much believe in Flare and what's going on. But at the same time, you do have to sometimes keep your eyes open for other things out there. That's especially like Polkadot, which is going to be such a big part of the whole crypto industry. And keep an eye out for opportunities there. And you don't want to get stuck in sometimes that tunnel vision of just XRP is everything. So that's why Patty and I try to branch out, but doesn't mean we don't believe in Flare or XRP or anything like that.
Absolutely. Cool. So with that, this is the DeFi Standard. I'm Patty XRP.
I'm Mickey B. Fresh.
And we're out. See y'all.